What's going on, DGen Nation? Back with another video. About to hop into a Best Ball Mania 4 draft. This is going to be my 68th BBM4 draft of the offseason. Picking out of the 6th hole. The draft just started. And pull up the board. Justin Jefferson goes first. Typical start. I'd say in about 90% of drafts, you're going to see either Jefferson or Chase go first, maybe closer to 95%. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody mix it up with like a Kelsey, a McCaffrey. I've seen AJ Brown once or twice, and the people that took AJ Brown were hoping to get that Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts at the back-to-back 24-25. So I've seen that a couple of times. Cooper Kupp goes third. This would be my top three right here. Most of the time, I'm taking Jefferson first. Occasionally, I've taken Chase a couple times at the one spot, but I prefer JJ number one, Chase number two, and then Kupp number three. I think Kupp going behind Tyreek Hill is a mistake. So after Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs at the 5 spot. So I don't have much McCaffrey. I have a good amount of both Brown and Lamb, so I will go McCaffrey right here. Obviously between McCaffrey and Kelsey, if I wasn't going to go with one of these two receivers. So balance out my Christian McCaffrey exposures a little bit. I think I'm only at around 3% McCaffrey so far. So he doesn't typically fall to the 6th spot. He's usually in somewhere in that top 5 range. He does occasionally, but most of the drafts I'm in, I see him go between 3 and 5. I don't have many picks out of the 6th hole either. I've had a good amount of 1 and 2, and I've had a good amount of 10, 11, and 12. So I have not been able to pick in this middle range as much, which has really swayed my exposures to certain guys. So I'm hoping to balance that out and kind of get some more picks in that 5, 6, 7 range. I mean, obviously you'd like to get number 1, number 2 most of the time, but the odds aren't in your favor to be picking at the top of the board that often. So the team out of the 12 hole goes Devonta Smith. I have not seen Devonta Smith go that early. He goes Devonta, Garrett Wilson. Interesting duo there. See what Devonta Smith's ADP. I know it's in the 20s somewhere, but yeah, so 21. So maybe this team is figuring I'm not going to get him on the way back at 36 for sure, unless something crazy happens. Let me get a little bit of a unique start, maybe pair 2 guys together that normally wouldn't be paired together. And, maybe he's hoping like Jalen Hurts slips back to him at the back-to-back at the turn, which most of the time he goes in this range right here, 20 to 24. I've seen him slip to the 3rd. I've gotten him in the 3rd, I believe at like the 33rd overall pick. So it occasionally does happen. We've been seeing the quarterback slip back into this late 2nd, early 3rd since the beginning of draft season. So I'm on the clock. I have very little Chubb and very little Saquon Barkley. I'll go Nick Chubb. Not a typical start for me, especially this year. I was doing this a lot last year. Rarely will I go running back. So fine mixing it up a bit there, just getting a little bit different. I just think Saquon, he did play well last year. He bounced back. Oh, you're talking about 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's a good catcher of the football, but with all that being said, Nick Chubb outscored him with barely, with him barely catching the ball. He does not get a lot of catches, and still was able to outscore Barkley, who had about around 50 catches, I believe. So, and Barkley scored 10 touchdowns. So with all that coming into play, Nick Chubb still outscored him. So I'd prefer, just on a 1-to-1 basis, I would probably prefer Nick Chubb over Saquon Barkley. And that's what ADP reflects. He's slightly ahead. So drafters feel the same way. It's close, but and Barkley again is playing for a contract. He's sitting out right now. I can see the Giants bringing him back on like a 3-year deal, something like that. But I think he's reached his ceiling, and there's always the chance that he gets banged up again. He was able to make it through the season mostly unscathed, but it's just a lot of wear and tear on his body. He's still a young guy, but just those devastating knee injuries. And I mean, Chubb did have a knee injury as well in college, but since coming into the NFL, the guy's been fairly injury free. I think he did get hurt one season for a few games, but not the way Barkley has, where he's missed, basically entire seasons. So after I went Chubb at 19, we see Olave off the board at 20. If I wasn't going to go either Chubb or Barkley, it would have definitely been Olave right there. Olave 20, Saquon Barkley 21, Mahomes 22, Pollard 23. At the turn, Breece Hall, T. Higgins 24-25, Jalen Hurts at 26, Ramondre Stevenson 27, Josh Allen 28. And I am on deck. Let's see what this team does at the 29 spot. They go Metcalf. I love Jacobs, but going 2 running backs already. I also don't love the receivers in this range. I'm gonna try and get Mark Andrews. I'm gonna grab Mark Andrews here and try and see if Lamar will fall back to me at yeah, that's not happening. He's not falling to the 43 spot, but that's okay. I like getting the one of those handful of elite tight ends. And if Lamar is gone, which he likely is, he goes in the next few picks here, at least the last, I would say 20 drafts I've done. Him and Mark Andrews always go within a few picks of each other. So if that's the case and he's gone, that's fine. I can start just hammering receivers here in these middle rounds. That one little section of the board, like I do like Debo. I think he's being underrated. I could have grabbed him to continue with my San Francisco build out with McCaffrey, maybe try to grab Ayuk, grab Kittle in a little bit, but the uncertainty at quarterback, and who do you take? Do you draft Purdy and Lance, which I don't like to do? I feel like one of them's, whoever's not starting, most likely going to be wasting a roster spot. Could Trey Lance get traded? He could, but I mean, you're talking about, if he does get traded, we're approaching camp, so it's hard. You trade a quarterback, and now you have to integrate him into your offense in a short period of time. Not very fair to Trey Lance to do that. They're leaning Brock Purdy, so I just don't like having a wasted roster spot. There's always the chance that Lance lights it up in training camp, and Purdy's not quite ready with the shoulder, and he gets the first crack at it and holds on to the job. So it's tough with that build to make a bet on one guy, and there's a chance he doesn't play all year, and the other option is to take both of them, and you're talking about taking up 2 spots on an 18-man roster. It's not my favorite thing to do either. I think I have one team where I have both, but not the ideal situation. So what I see a lot of teams doing here now too is DJ Moore's price has come down considerably. So a lot of teams around the turn here, 48, 49, are grabbing Justin Fields and DJ Moore. I'm gonna grab Fields. I'm gonna grab Fields. I think he could even improve upon his rushing totals. They might be throwing the ball a little bit more, especially with DJ Moore coming aboard. But I think he's almost a lock if he stays healthy to get over 1,000 yards rushing. And I mean, there's only a handful of guys that are going to give you that. Anthony Richardson, that's why he's going at ADP 97, but before anyone's even seen him play a game, because he has that dangerous high end rushing upside. And Justin Fields, Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts, they're really the only guys that give you that type of rushing ceiling. I guess Daniel Jones is in there, not quite to that extent. He's a yeah, see, about 700 yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. That's very good. So he's on the outside looking in of that tier. You could put him in that second tier of rushing quarterbacks. There's a couple other guys that will give you some rushing upside, but not like actual running back rushing upside the way Justin Fields does, or Lamar. Lamar's the other one I was forgetting. Lamar, Fields, Richardson, Hurts. Those four are just can bring their game to a whole new level with the rushing upside. So see if maybe more will fall to me. No, I didn't think so. He goes right there at the 50 pick. So he actually did go a little bit past ADP, because most likely because I took Fields there. I've seen, like I said, that pick around the turn here. Either the team in the 47th overall will grab Fields and grab more on the way back, or the team at the turn 48, 49 will grab them. They correlate nicely. They fall into a nice range right there. So I don't have a receiver yet. This is a very unusual build for me. If Ayuk is on the board here, I will take him. This team already has 3 receivers, but that usually doesn't stop people. He goes Godwin. So I could still build out my San Fran stack if I'd like. I got McCaffrey. I got Ayuk. Maybe George Kittle. Maybe he falls. I've seen him dip in certain drafts. So maybe if he made it back to me at 67, I could take him, be done at tight end. I don't know if a lot of teams are going to have Kittle and Mark Andrews. So definitely going to be weak at receiver. There's no doubt about that. So it could be like a 10 receiver build. Taking some shots on some upside guys. Not my favorite thing to do. Don't love Ayuk as my number 1 receiver, but that's kind of what you're going to get when you go running back, tight end, then quarterback. No receivers through the first 4 rounds. I don't think I've done this all year out of 68 drafts. This is the first time I've done a build like this. So I think it's good to get unique and different every once in a while, mix things up. Just get a little breakdown on the picks. After I went Fields at 43, we see Najee Harris, 44, Mike Williams, Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne. At the turn, 48, 49, Drake London, Terry McLaurin to the team with Justin Jefferson. So they actually have 4 high-end receivers. They get JJ, T. Higgins, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, along with Breece Hall. DJ Moore goes at 50. Miles Sanders, Kenneth Walker, Chris Godwin. I took Ayuk at 54 overall. Joe Mixon, 55. Then Aaron Jones, Justin Herbert, J.K. Dobbins. Cam Akers, 59 to the team at the 11 spot. So that's quite a bit ahead of his ADP. Let's see what his ADP is. 74. I guess if you really like Akers, you're thinking maybe he doesn't make it back to you, but No, they're basically picking on the turn there at the 11 spot, so they could have probably waited and grabbed Akers here at 62 instead of 59. But maybe if they didn't like either of those guys, Pierce or Johnston, or maybe there's a handful of guys that they didn't like, they were zeroing in on one guy on the comeback around. I guess it's not the worst strategy in the world. Akers is the kind of guy I feel good about taking in the 7th, but not in the 5th. Just one of those. He's just one of those guys where you're always worried about him. Like, what's going to happen next? He was basically off the team last year. He was getting into it with Sean McVay, and he made all this, the Achilles injury as well. You throw that into the mix. So polarizing player to say the least. I would find me taking him in the 7th, 8th, but not getting much of him if he's going before that range. And he actually was earlier in the offseason. He was going in the 80s. So I was good taking him there. The team at the 10 spot at 63 overall went with Kittle. So that's no longer an option. That's okay. 65 overall goes JSN. And I'm on deck. They go Lockett. I've been taking, if Mike Evans is here in this range, I've been taking him in pretty much every draft. I'm trying to stop myself. I'm trying to slow down a little bit, but I will go Deontay Johnson here. I don't have much of him either. He had 0 touchdowns last year. I don't see that continuing. I think Pickett gets a little bit better this year, and I think he's in for a nice bounce back. He's still a young guy. It's not like there's a ton of competition behind him. Then their wide receiver 3 is Allen Robinson. Maybe Pickens challenges him a little bit more for touches in the red zone. I could definitely see that, and maybe they run the ball in a little bit more with an improved offensive line. But I think in between the 20s, he's going to get back to his old self a little bit, and if he could bring those touchdowns up from 0 to, let's say, even 4, he's going to be much improved. The same way kind of DJ Moore was. I think he had 4 touchdowns every year to begin his career. And it was like everyone always says, "Oh, DJ Moore can bump that up to, let's say, 7, 6." He's going to see a massive improvement in his total overall points for the season. So I like Deontay as a bounce back candidate for sure. See how the board falls. Maybe they can build in. If I could grab Pickens maybe on the wrap back around, if he makes it there, and I could grab Kenny Pickett later. Don't have any Seahawks though, and there are possibilities though. If I wanted to do Pittsburgh Seattle Week 17 correlation, I could get Geno Smith later. I could get Charbonnet, Noah Fant. So there's definitely a few options still with the Seattle offense as well that I could correlate the two with. I do have Ayuk and CMC, so Purdy's always an option later. And they play the Rams week 17, so Stafford's always available. You get Van Jefferson, a couple of their receivers go in the last round, Tutu Atwell and Puka. I don't know how to say his name still. Puka. He's always kind of hanging around there in the 17 to 18. So Higbee is another one. Plenty of options for those 2 passing games. So we'll see what happens here. If Pickens is still there, if I don't get sniped on Pickens, I'll grab Pickens. I like Pickens or Dotson though. If it ends up being Dotson, that's fine. So I will grab George Pickens as my wide receiver 3. He fell a few picks past ADP, which is nice. I think this roster for starting out 0 wide receiver actually looks decent, has some good balance. Got Justin Fields at quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb at running back, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens at wide receiver, and tight end Mark Andrews. It's looking like I like Komet a lot, especially as a tight end too. I don't like taking 3 tight ends when I get an elite tight end like Mark Andrews. I spent high draft capital on him, but I could leave myself open to if I grab Pat Frymuth, get Komet, I could go 4 running backs with the 3 tight ends and do a bit of a unique build. And so if I did like a 2-4-10-3, see if that math adds up in my head. We'll see how it goes. Not my favorite strategy to grab 3 tight ends when I pick a tight end in the first 5 rounds, but I guess there's a lot of data out there that's supporting 3 tight end builds. They're saying 2 quarterback, 3 tight end builds are ideal for advancing. Now, advancing doesn't always mean winning the tournament, but advance rates were highest with rosters with that construction. So let's see what we should do. Take a look at the board here. So I went George Pickens at 78 overall. And after Pickens, Jahan Dotson went 79. Brandon Cooks, Darren Waller, Dalvin Cook, Rashad White, James Conner, Michael Thomas, Javonte Williams, Deshaun Watson, Jameson Williams, 88 overall. I am 2 picks away. So I'm on the board. I'm on the clock. This is a region I'm probably going to regret it later. I'll grab Pat Frymuth there at 91. Making that big bet on Pittsburgh. Got to make sure I secure Kenny Pickett later on. He goes in a nice range around 170. I think he's super underrated there. So if I get Komet, that's fine. I'm happy with it. But if I have a completely unstacked Justin Fields, I'm totally okay with that too. On this wrap back around, if he makes it, I would like to take Charbonnet and just be able to take one more running back at the end of the draft, maybe in the 18th, and just and run with 4 running backs with this build. If I don't get Charbonnet, I'll most likely go with Elijah Mitchell just to handcuff McCaffrey. I think he has standalone value, but he's probably a top 3 handcuff in fantasy. I think Algier is in that mix as far as a backup. Charbonnet certainly is too. If anything were to happen to Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet could just be a monster. So few guys that are really good handcuffs. You see another one there, AJ Dillon. If Aaron Jones went down, he's a guy who could be an RB1. So not a big fan of handcuffing only in the right scenarios. It has to be perfect scenario. So Charbonnet does go there, 96. I think the play would have been to grab Charbonnet and try to get Frymuth on the way back. I mean, he has an ADP of 106. So in theory, he should have been there. That was a reach by me. If he puts up a top 8 tight end season, I won't care. It's not going to matter. But my last 3 picks are Steelers. You know, you're making the bet that all 3 of these guys are, Deontay Johnson. If you take him in the 6, you're hoping he is low end wide receiver 1, maybe high end wide receiver 2, and George Pickens as well, wide receiver 2 potential, and then Freiermuth in the 8th. You're hoping that he's, like I just said, a top 8 tight end. So, is Kenny Pickett capable of sustaining 3 fantasy stars? Basically, I don't know. Should have went with Charbonnet there instead. This receiver range is gross. If I didn't go Charbonnet or Freiermuth with that last pick, I probably should have gone receiver, only having 3. Just a weird build for me right now, but I'll go Kamara. I think as a RB3, the risk is built in. If he gets suspended for 10 games, it's built in. I could even see him getting traded if Kendre Miller and Jamal Williams are doing the job. I could see Kamara as a potential trade candidate, especially to a team like maybe like the Chiefs. If Hilaire struggles again, McKinnon's he's up there in age. He's over 30 years old now, so maybe he has no gas left in the tank. Maybe that's the type of guy that Kansas City would bring in. They're not scared to make those type of deals. They did it last year with Kadarius Toney. He wore out his welcome in New York, and the Chiefs brought him in and seamlessly just fit into their system. And he wasn't a target monster, but he did enough with the gadget plays and stuff like that. He helped them win a Super Bowl, and as a special teamer or a returner. So Andy Reid, out of anybody, knows how to bring in an offensive player and utilize him to the best of his ability. So I think that's absolutely in the cards for Kamara. So after I went Kamara 102, see Evan Ingram, Dak Prescott, Jacoby Myers, Juju Smith-Schuster, Daniel Jones, Tyler Boyd, Geno Smith, 108, 109. So my Seattle, Pittsburgh, week 17 potential stack is dead. I think my best bet would be to grab Purdy. My best bet would be to grab Brock Purdy later on. Be done with the 2 QBs. Just take that chance that he's the starter from everything you're hearing. That looks like it's going to be the case. And if not, ride Justin Fields all year. That's fine with me. I think as long as he can stay healthy, he's a lock to be a top 5, top 6 quarterback. So I'm good with that. Could still get Komet to build in that Chicago correlation. Chicago's got the Bucks. So would have maybe made sense with Mike Evans earlier on. I passed on him for the Pittsburgh guys. That's okay. We'll figure something out. I will go Mooney here to correlate with Justin Fields. Let's go back to the board. Mooney correlates with Fields. I needed another receiver, hoping he can have a bounce back season, stay healthy. Now he's a number 2. He's not getting that number 1 attention. Komet another year in. should be another guy who's a threat. Claypool remains to be seen. What sometimes his head's not screwed on straight, so you don't really know. There's reports that he's not taking the playbook seriously, just taking football seriously in general. So you don't know about him. But I think Mooney benefits greatly from DJ Moore being there, where he's not asked to do as much as a number one. That'll draw a lot of the attention away from him, and maybe he can get open deep for a lot of those deep shots. He did play really well 2 years ago, had 1,000 yards. So hoping for a bounce back there from Mooney. Doesn't feel great as my wide receiver 4, but if he could replicate even 90% of what he did a couple years ago, that'd be a great pick in the 10th round. So after I went Mooney, Brian Robinson 116, Devin Achane 117, Jonathan Mingo 118, Dalton Schultz, Khalil Herbert, Aaron Rodgers at the turn to the team out of the 1 hole, Odell Beckham 122. I'm 3 picks away. Chiggy Okongwu to the team out of the 11 hole. Dalton Kincaid goes next. I'm on deck. So I have 3 running backs that I feel great about. I really need receiver at this point. Kenny Pickett's a few rounds away. And if I don't get Pickett, I still have that Brock Purdy option available. I'd prefer to go 2 quarterbacks on this team. So I'm going to go Sky Moore. For some reason, that touchdown catch in the Super Bowl, I think, was monumental for him. Like, he just struggled so much all year, and he didn't really live up to expectations, especially draft expectations. He was going fairly early, but I think it takes at least a year in the Andy Reid system to get acclimated, to really know the playbook, which is extremely complicated. But I think catching a touchdown in such a big game like that, it makes you feel part of the team. It makes you feel a sense of importance, like you belong. And just the one little play, one little moment like that just sticks with you in your head, and you feel like, okay, I can do this. I did it on the biggest stage, under the spotlights. I was an important part of that win. I caught a touchdown. I think that sticks with them and carries with them into year 2. So I think he's a potential breakout candidate that is definitely being slept on at pick 120 overall as far as ADP goes. People are nervous about Rashee Rice, but like I said, I don't know if rookies just hit the ground running usually in that system. So back to the board. I went Sky Moore 126. I could have taken Elijah Mitchell, and I see him. He's at the top of the running back list at ADP right now. I'm just desperate for receivers in this room. I waited till the 5th to take my first. I feel okay about the ones I have, but missing out on another potential breakout guy there in favor of a handcuff. A very good handcuff, but a handcuff nonetheless. In Mitchell, he goes there at 135. That's okay. I've been hearing reports out of camp too that, and this is always what you hear out of Shanahan teams. It's Terry and Davis Price is having a great camp, and they're using a variety of backs. The number 2 job is up for grabs, and as it should be. Elijah Mitchell has a tough time staying healthy. He is good when he's out there, but I could see a scenario. It wouldn't shock me if somebody else won that number 2 job just as a surprise. Shanahan is similar to Belichick, where it's you think you have it nailed down as to exactly what he's going to do, and he just completely flips the script and does the exact opposite. So I'm going to go Van Jefferson here. I want to take Kmet. I just feel like that's wrong. If I do build out that San Francisco San Francisco, LA Rams stack and grab a few Rams. I want to at least have, the number 2 pass catcher. I could always grab Stafford. So I'm leaving myself open to a variety of different options. If someone gets sniped, say someone just, which happens a lot more than you'd think, someone just takes an unstacked Kenny Pickett, let's say. I still have Stafford. I still have Purdy, who I can go to later on. So leave myself open to a few possibilities. I'd rather wait on Pickett than go Stafford, honestly, but just because of how big of a bet I made on the Steelers. Let's go back to the board. And Komet's sitting there at the top of ADP, so I'm 7 picks away. Maybe he doesn't make it. If he doesn't, that's fine with me. I'm okay sticking at 2 tight ends. I don't think that having that third tight end is going to make or break me, because I don't see him outscoring Mark Andrews most weeks, and I think him and Pat Fryermuth are very similar. Which, now that I'm saying that to myself, and now that I'm thinking about it, you're taking Komet at 150 overall as opposed to Fryermuth in the 8th at 91 overall. That seems like just not. It was a reach, and it was bad value on my part. That was a little bit of a panic pick. I'm not afraid to admit it, but it's just not something I typically do. But that was a bit of a panic pick. I should have at least waited to see if I could get Fryermuth on the wraparound at 102. But if I can get Komet here past ADP, I feel good about that. Done at tight end. Can continue to look for some upside receivers here between 14 and 17. Grab my second QB. So sorry to keep scrolling up and down the board, but it looks like this team's auto drafting here. See what they did. They get Lawrence and Hurts, Pollard, ETN, Kendre Miller. They get 8 receivers already. That doesn't help my cause either. Waiting on receiver. So Komet does fall. Feel pretty good about that. Normally wouldn't go 3 tight ends with Mark Andrews, but I will do it in a scenario where I love my running backs, and I do love the running backs I've gotten so far. Stopping at 3 is not ever recommended by me or most people. Even if you have 3 great RB1s, it's you want to be, you're just not accounting for injury in any way, shape, or form if you're only grabbing 3. McCaffrey, you look at his name on paper and you're like, oh, all right, that's that's 300 points out of my running back. That's a lock every week. But we've seen how often, how many times he's gotten hurt already in his career, and he goes down. So then you're stuck with Chubb and Kamara. Okay, let's say Kamara gets suspended 10 weeks. So now I'm playing Nick Chubb every week by himself. I'm getting no points at the running back position. So I guess in this scenario, it's a little bit different with Kamara, who's almost guaranteed a suspension. If I had somebody else in there, let's say I got Devin Singletary, who's expected to start the season. He'll have a role every week, and will it be a big role? Who knows? But it would be a little different if I had 3 guys who I knew were starting the season, no injury, no suspension. Obviously changes a little bit with the pending suspension, but in general, you want to go at least 4 running backs. So after I went Komet 150, we see Tyler Algier, Adam Thielen, Gerald Everett, KJ Osborne, Marvin Mims, Devin Singletary, and Tajay Spears to the team out of the 12 spot at the back-to-back. Sam Laporta, 158. Irv Smith, 159. DJ Chark, 160. This is where it becomes a difficult decision for me. I've made such a big bet on Pittsburgh, and Stafford's still there. There's a couple of quarterbacks ahead of Pickett at ADP. Do I wait? Do I wait for Pickett on the wraparound? Maybe he gets sniped. If he gets sniped, I'm gonna go Brock Purdy. So as much as I want to get Pickett with the bet I made, I think I should just grab a receiver right here. I like Rashid Shaheed. I will grab him. Glitched on me there for a second, but I got Shaheed as my 7th receiver. Good at tight end. Need one more running back at least. And I have 4 options still remaining at quarterback. So if I do get sniped on Pickett, which I did, of course, he goes right after me. And that makes the Frymuth pick even worse because why reach up for Frymuth there and then not grab Pickett? I knew that was going to happen. I mean, he's before ADP, he was the 4th quarterback on the board, but this team decides to take him. I'm guessing unstacked unless they have Najee Harris. Let's see. Where is he? All right, so he does have Najee. It's not as crazy, I guess. Still annoying, but what are you going to do? I'd probably prefer Purdy at 185 as opposed to Stafford here with this next pick. So I went Rashid Shaheed 163, then Kenny Pickett went right after 164. MVS, Jaden Reed, Jordan Love, Jalen Hyatt, Taysom Hill at the back-to-back to the team out of the 1 spot. And the team picking 170 overall in the 15th round is up. And Stafford goes. So I just really have to keep my fingers crossed right here that Brock Purdy doesn't go. That would be devastating. Because I've taken a lot of Lance, but as the offseason gets later and later, I feel less and less confident that he's going to be starting. As I said at the beginning, I don't love taking 2. I don't love taking Purdy and Lance. I will take Purdy here, a little bit of ahead of ADP. Not my favorite selection, but I think he's going to be, if he gets in there, he was lighting it up last year. It's such a perfectly structured offense for a quarterback like Purdy, who's accurate, doesn't make mistakes. As long as you can stay within the offense and not be turnover prone, just be accurate, that offense is going to run itself. So let's go back to the board. I'm trying to just debate in my head, what do I do next? I for sure need another running back. I love Pierre Strong, especially with James Robinson out of the picture now. There's no way that they use Ramondre in the same way that they did last year, which is good for Ramondre. He got worn down. He just was playing like 97% of the snaps. So I think Pierre Strong has that good RB2 role, and it is a good role in the Patriots offense. Like he's liable to score 2 rushing touchdowns depending on the opponent. That's just always how the Patriots have used their backs. They'll mix it up around the goal line. He's very fast. Maybe he has a couple breakaway runs. So There's not much competition. Um, he's battling another rookie from last year and Kevin Harris. They're both going into their second year. So Harris and Pierre Strong. And I think Pierre Strong has the lead from everything I've heard. So Robinson's out of the picture. Ramondre is undebatable number one, but there's a lot of carries that need to be picked up, a lot of touches that need to be picked up by somebody. And I think Pierre Strong fills that role for the Patriots. So I was grabbing a lot in the 18th for most of the offseason. And I've seen him go as high as the 15th. Obviously an ADP reach, but he's been getting steamed up further and further. So if I want him, I might have to grab him in the 17th at 198 as opposed to the 18th. It's definitely a weird team for me. A structure that I don't normally go with. So I went Brock Purdy 174, 175 was Chuba Hubbard, Jawan Johnson, Raheem Mostert, Wandale Robinson, Paris Campbell. At the turn, we see them go Deonta Foreman, CJ Stroud out of the 12 spot at the back-to-back. Then we see John Mechie, Zeke, Ty Chandler, Trey Lance, Sam Howell. I'm on the clock. Need a fourth running back. I'm gonna go Pierre Strong. I'm not gonna wait around. I'm fine with him here. I think him in the 18th is he's mispriced. So didn't feel confident about him coming back to me. I've seen him go consistently in this range over the past 5 or 6 drafts. He's been steamed up. I could see if I find another value at running back. And grab a fifth. So I like the team. It's just the way I built it out. Like I don't love that Freiermuth pick. If I could do it over, I absolutely would. Let's see. Let's go back and see who was in that range where I took Freiermuth. Yeah, so I mean, not even a question. I like Zach Charbonnet at 91 right there. If I was going to take a reach a little ahead of ADP, should have went Charbonnet over Freiermuth, or I could have gone with Sutton, Elijah Moore, Bateman, one of those receivers, Zay Flowers. Like I should have just taken a shot on someone who could be a wide receiver too, as opposed to Freiermuth as my second tight end behind Mark Andrews. Not a good pick there. Kicking myself a little bit for that. So I went Pierre Strong, 187. Joshua Palmer, Tyler Conklin, Kieran Williams, Dawson Knox. And then at the turn to the one team, Trey McBride, 192. Tank Dell, 193. We're in the 17th round. So I have 2 more picks. Jeff Wilson goes next. I am 3 picks out. So let's see what's there. Anything interesting? This is where I have a hard time not going with the third quarterback. It's like Kyler Murray is just hanging around there. And I just think it's so everyone thinks he's going to sit out the season. He's going behind Baker Mayfield. Like that's just absolutely absurd to me. Claypool's there. He would correlate with my Bears. I'll grab Claypool. I normally would grab Kyler, and whoever gets Kyler, I think, is getting him at a ridiculous values. 32 picks past ADP. Everyone thinks he's going to sit out the season. I don't. I would not make a bet on him. I mean, if you read this news here, he's doing squats. 2 months out from 3 months out from surgery. He was squatting. He's an incredible athlete. As much hate as he gets about the not taking the game seriously in the video games and stuff, like, the dude is just an amazing athlete. So I would not surprise me if his recovery went ahead of schedule. It's never a good idea to sit guys, to tank. It's not good for your franchise. Maybe in other sports, maybe if you're, a basketball team and, this team at 200 gets an amazing discount on Murray, 32 picks past ADP. That's the most annoying thing on Underdog is the goddamn, you click on another team to see their roster, and as soon as the next pick is made, it just goes right back to your roster. They have to change that. It's so goddamn annoying. They get Kyler 32 picks past ADP. So that they took a little bet on Lance there. He's going very late. So they took the bet on Lance and then said Murray, and a very high upside for both of those guys. They have Dak to kind of just give him that floor every week. And if one of those two guys can come back and make an impact, that's great value there. So right now my roster is Justin Fields at quarterback, Justin Fields, Brock Purdy at quarterback. Running back, I have CMC, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Pierre Strong. Wide receivers, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Darnell Mooney, Sky Moore, Van Jefferson, Rashid Shaheed, and Chase Claypool. And at tight end, I have Mark Andrews, Pat Frymuth, Cole Kmet. So this team, it would have looked, I don't want to say better, but it would have looked different with, would have made more sense with Kenny Pickett. Probably another mistake I made there was getting Shaheed instead of Pickett. I knew he was going to get sniped, but I think if Purdy's starting week 1 and you're looking at overall points for the season, I think Purdy's neck and neck or outscores Pickett. So fine with that in a vacuum. I have CMC and Ayuk to correlate. I have the best parts of that Pittsburgh offense aside from Najee Harris. So, if they're good and I don't have Pickett, I think, I could still, I think I'll still be fine there. I have to go probably running back here. I was looking at Chase Brown a couple rounds ago. I'll go Zach Evans. He further ties in with that Rams San Francisco week 17. I don't think Cam Akers is any sort of a short thing. Played well down the stretch, but the Achilles, the uncertainty just over his personality, and it's I wouldn't rule out another possibility of a rift with the organization with McVay. We've already seen it once. You're definitely live to see it again. So I think Evans is a talented guy from all accounts. I know he graded out well at the combine, and TFF had him projected as someone who could be a starter within a couple of years. So my last couple picks here, I'll break down these last 2 rounds. I went Chase Claypool 198. OC Desmond Ritter 199. Kyler Murray 200 overall, round 17. Hayden Hurst, Bryce Young, Richie James, Luke Musgrave, Deuce Vaughn at the turn. Michael Carter 206. McCole Hardman, Corey Davis, Tim Patrick, Justin Ross. I went Zach Evans 211. Allen Robinson 212. Hunter Henry, Jelani Woods, Chase Brown. And as usual, the last pick does not show up. So we will wrap it up from there. Give one more quick breakdown of my team. It was a 2-5-8-3 build. So actually structurally it turned out great. That's typically what you're looking for. If you're going to go 3 tight ends, you try to go 2 quarterbacks. 5 running backs is fine. 8 wide receivers is fine. So you're in that range, that sweet spot. Justin Fields, elite quarterback, as my QB1, and then I got Brock Purdy. A little bit ahead of ADP, but made sense with my team. Running back, I have CMC, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Pierre Strong, Zach Evans. So those top 2 probably going to carry me all year. If Kamara can come back and not get a year-long suspension, which is unlikely. If he could get something closer to 6 to 8 games, that would be a steal. at 102 overall. Then at wide receiver, I have Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Darnell Mooney, Sky Moore, Van Jefferson, Rashid Shaheed, Chase Claypool. So on paper, very weak wide receiver core. But these top three, if they can live up to the expectations, I think they're good on a team where you went quarterback, running back, tight end early. I think that's, you're not going to see a much better receiving core than this on a team where you didn't take one until the 5th round. So I like that receiving core. A couple, potential Sky Moore second-year breakout, Darnell Mooney bounce back. Shaheed could have a second-year breakout. Van Jefferson, I think, was banged up a lot of last year, but the year before that was excellent. Stafford can stay healthy. He could be good. And tight end is spectacular. Mark Andrews, Freiermuth, Cole Kmet. So if I had to grade myself, not my favorite team, I'd give this team like a B-. Definitely a slip up there with the Freiermuth pick. If I could do that over, I would. And maybe Kenny Pickett there instead of Shaheed. I mean, Shaheed, a lot of good reports about him. So, would I rather have the breakout receiver or the quarterback, QB2? I'd rather have the receiver. So maybe that I won't be kicking myself too much about that if Shaheed's able to perform this year. So that's going to do it for today's video. Appreciate you guys watching. If you could help me out, leave me a like, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. What can I do better? What can I improve upon? What parts did you like? Any feedback is appreciated. So thank you guys. I'll talk to you soon. DJ Nation out.